Creator's world. Just because you're a god, it doesn't mean you are top dog in the universe or reality. What if you're as powerful as a god, but you live within someone else's world? What if there are others around you or above you with equal or more power? Are you still a god? What even is a god, anyway? This last question is most pertinent. To small molecular creatures, you are a god. You control the world around them with a power their kind will never acquire without billions of years of fortuitous evolutionary development. Even if you go several stages up to an ant or a housefly, these beings also have nothing comparable to the power you wield on a daily basis without thinking. You are the master of your own reality. You can control where you go, what you build, and what you destroy better than any life form we know of. You can create life, and you can cause death. And, of course, everyone else in this world can do the same. Therefore, being God is nothing special. Unless, that is, there are even more powerful beings out there in our universe which would seem like gods to us, such as their ability to manipulate time, space, and reality. Can God's status be won and lost? If so, and God is merely some higher power which we cannot control or understand, then surely every being is a god to something. We are the gods of planet Earth. We can rid it of any creature we want. We can manipulate it almost to our every whim. We are on the cusp of designing genomes, editing things on a molecular level, and potentially extending our lives and consciousness for an indefinite amount of time. If you were God, how would you know for sure? Forget convincing others. Could you ever convince yourself? There are two psychological disorders which cover the belief that you are a god: the Messiah complex and the God complex. Neither of these terms represent a clinical diagnosis, but they've both been observed by professionals and their symptoms categorized. Those with Messiah complex believe themselves destined towards becoming a savior. They feel they must help others to their own detriment, and sufferers often experience an overwhelming sense of grandeur regardless of what they're doing. Oh look, I took a whiz. There should be some sort of shrine here, so my worshippers may pay homage to the site where I wielded the yellow lightsaber and gave forth my golden nectar unto the ground. Conversely, people with a God complex believe they are right about everything, that their opinions are fact, even in the face of irrefutable evidence. They reject the conventions of society and instead feel above their fellow humans due to an inflated sense of ability, privilege, and wisdom. Essentially, the God complex is every YouTube comment section. Both conditions accurately describe what it would feel like to be a god. So, if you were a god and you were here on Earth in human form, would you be able to distinguish between a complex and your true power? You might think the answer is yes, obviously, but this ignores the potential purpose of God's visit to your fleshy bag of meat and bones. Why is God gracing us with their presence? If he or she created everything, for what reason are they now here on Earth? Is it to learn? Gods by definition are more wise and more powerful than ordinary people. But God is not supposed to be perfect. If he or she is here on Earth, that means they've probably come to learn or experience something, to improve themselves and their understanding of what it means to be human. If this is true, they won't achieve this by knowing that they are God the whole time. That's cheating. It's living like a human on literal God mode. To fully immerse themselves in the human experience, God would have to forget who they are and what they're capable of. If you are God, you aren't allowed to know, and you won't ever know until your task is complete. You're a limb. The idea that you are God doesn't necessarily mean that you are an all-powerful deity capable of smiting those who oppose you. The truth is, you might be no more powerful than an elbow or a foot. Let's explain why. It is considered blasphemous by some of a religious persuasion to announce that you are God, that you are equal, and that you are just as powerful as he, she, or it. But there's a sneaky way around this, and that is to say that everyone is God. You, your parents, Shia LaBeouf, Marky Mark, Michael Bay, Megan Fox, everyone involved in the Transformers franchise is God. Pretty scary thought, right? However, you, me, and the rest of the world are not all individual gods. That'd be chaos. It'd be like an Avengers movie set in hell, which I would totally watch. No, we are all part of one God, the same God, with each person being directed or controlled by our deity like some kind of limb. We are an extension of God, in the same way that we are all an extension of life alongside animals, microbes, and plant life. What God is, what they represent, or why we're here on their behalf, we will probably never ever know. And nor can we know if upon death, we are to be reunited as part of this God when our mortal selves have been destroyed. One fascinating concept which riffs on the idea of us all being God is explored in Andy Weir's short story, The Egg. In this tale, a man dies and finds out that he is God. He also finds out that he is, or one day will be, every person who will ever live on Earth. As God of this world, it is his job to experience every life there is to lead. Only then, after he's literally lived in every man and woman's shoes, will he transcend into something more. Another interesting theory related to this concept posits that we are all born of one idea, and that each individual's personality is the manifestation of a single one of God's thoughts. Your racist Uncle Pete came from the time God got stuck in line behind a Mexican. Your shy friend Kelly sprang from the moment God felt self-conscious about how fat he looks in his God robes. And I, as a debonair, lustful gentleman, came from one of the dirty thoughts God has every day riding the bus. Basically, each one of God's flaws, ideas, opinions, and observations is played out by a human vessel here on Earth. We are all part of God's mind, but the whole is something we cannot control. We are instructed by something far greater than the sum of our parts, but there is something else which compels us to act. So, how much free will we have in this scenario, and how much free thought we're able to have, well, God only knows.